that you're aware of really how big this issue is. But before we start, I'd really like to acknowledge that we are all meeting in various places around Australia today on sacred sovereign Indigenous land. It's been lived, danced and celebrated on for over 120,000 continuous years, and we pay our respects to all Indigenous elders, past, present and emerging, and we celebrate our Indigenous sisters in business. For those of you who don't know me or who are new to Business Women Australia, welcome. I'm the National Director of Business Women Australia and the founder of BWA. My background's in business strategy, marketing, business development and sales generation. So I've been working as a professional executive and a consultant in those years since I left UWA with my commerce degree over 30 years ago, not counting anymore. I think I'll stick with 30. And I'm still very involved with UWA. I mentor students there. I've been doing that for over 7 years. I love my scuba diving. I've discovered that in the last couple of years. And Simon and I are really enjoying discovering some of the waters around WA. At least we can move around WA. And a few weeks ago, we were up in Exmouth swimming with grey nurse sharks and reef sharks. It was just amazing. So that's been my big thing and I just love it. Can't wait to get back in the water again. So for those of you who have heard this before, bear with me. Our vision at BWA is to be a place where everyone's valued and can contribute to the greater good. So we're a community that really collaborates, and we want to show organisations and other community groups how collaboration can really work in Australia, that's focused on raising the profile and helping business women be successful in their dreams and their objectives. So we do that by building a network of influence and really promoting women in their expertise by featuring our members in everything that we do. That we don't focus on the celebrity event type stuff, but we focus on ordinary women doing extraordinary things who are leaders in their fields. So we're really proud of the work that we do in our mission. Who is Business Women Australia? We get asked this question all the time. Is it mainly business owners and entrepreneurs? Well, that's a big part of it. But we also have a lot of executives, employees, directors, women in C-suite, the CEOs, CIOs, chief marketing officers and so on, but also women on boards. And we've also got now a growing cohort of emerging leaders, particularly now that we've joined forces with Torrens Uni, and we've got a whole lot of new members who are studying at university and wanting to be a part of a collective where they can really be around ambitious, successful women. So we focus on these areas of development: leadership, business improvement, personal growth, influence and profile, and of course, connecting. Strategic connections are a very important part of our growth in business, but also in finding the right people that we can bounce ideas off, who we can be inspired by, who we can use as a sounding board, and great friendships actually come out of that. So we find that the type of women that join us and want to be a part of our community share these sorts of values around that sort of courage and honesty, you know, what we talk about in terms of authenticity, you know, being real. We have a really strong open-mindedness. Everyone's welcome to join us, and we have a very positive, optimistic view on how we can actually make an impact in the world. So these are the kinds of women that love to hang out with BWA, and as a result, we've made some incredible friends over the years. So I was just reflecting on that the other night and how grateful I am, you know, that I've got these amazing women around me who kick me up the butt and tell me to step up, step out, reach out, expand, keep growing. They give me great feedback, and I'm really fortunate to have all these amazing leaders who are so generously willing to wrap their arms and their care around me and help me be a better person. And I really hope that others in the community are feeling that as well. You know, it is really pretty special. For those of you who are not members already, we'd love you to join. You get all these wonderful benefits. And if you've got any questions, feel free to ask me about any of those inclusions, and also what the difference of the levels of memberships are. We're very proud of our Torrens University partnership. We actually signed that, got over the line during the COVID lockdown. So we were very productive during that time. And we're able to offer thousands and thousands of dollars worth of free courses that are available for all our members. I've just finished the Difficult Conversation, a Manager's Guide course. It was really good. I did that because one of my clients is actually having some difficult conversations with his fellow partners. They run a law firm, and it was really useful for me to be able to just refresh some of my leadership sort of learnings with what the latest is in the research, and be able to draw on that in terms of helping him and sharing some of those resources with him to read too. So it was really good. For those of you who are social media oriented, we are very active across all these channels. We have a LinkedIn group that you are free to join. You don't have to be a financial member of BWA. You can join our LinkedIn group. We'd love you to follow our Facebook page, our company page on LinkedIn. We'd love you to subscribe and check our calendar on our businesswomenaustralia.net.au for this week. We're just sitting on our website on a separate domain for now, but we will keep you up to date with that. So our collaborative partners, we couldn't do what we do today without these partners. So in addition to Torrens University, we've got Catco Enterprise, and today we've got Kathy Smith on with us. Thanks, Kathy, for being here. Kathy is an incredible collaborative partner. She looks after our social media and digital marketing. Solo accounts, of course, the wonderful Donna Vincent, who looks after Business Women Australia's invoicing and all our dealing with our accountants and doing all our financial reporting. And check out her app for those of you who are out there consulting on an individual basis. It's a wonderful app for anyone who doesn't need an employee payroll system. So you can run your invoices out of there, you can do your expenses, keep track of all that, work out your quarterly BAS if you're paying GST, or you can just do your end of year financials if you're a non-GST. So there's two different versions. Intact Teams is Jessica Schubert. She's running our learning and development program now and also working with Torrens University. Watch this space. She's got some great ideas that will be launched next year. And of course, we've got all the other lovely supportive collaborative partners there, including Pauline Bright, who I believe is on today as well. So we've got some high-powered leaders in the group online today. So for those of you who aren't sure about what level of membership you should start at, it starts with Classic at $2.99, and then you can actually level up if you want to be a part of our speaker program or work with me on developing workshops or webinars, want to be featured on our podcasts, want to be writing articles in our Buzz magazine, then you might be ready for premium level membership, and we can sit down and talk about what that means. So any questions or ideas about BWA and what you'd like to do, as this is your brand, your community, your collective, I would love to hear them. So I'll drop you a line after this with my calendar link so you can book in a time. Lots coming up. Mandurah Murray have regional issues for business women on the 23rd of September. That is going to be a wonderful session. That's also Robin, who is it, Kathy, that's coming along? One of the pollies is going to be down there as well to hear the women's issues. So it'll be a good session, even if you're not in the Peel, Mandurah Murray area, it would actually be good if you've got clients or any involvement with that area south of Perth.
So that's Robin Clark.
Oh,
so
yes.
That's Robin Clark Lynch.
Robin
She's
Clark.
the polly all the way from the south of Perth right down to Harvey, so Australind area. So she covers all of that Peel, almost southwest type area. So yeah, she's
awesome.
got a huge
great opportunity there for any of the Perth cohort as well to tap into that opportunity. Our final Friday free fall for this year is on the 25th of September, so jump on, have a drink with me after work on Friday. Then on the 29th of September, we've got a banter with the wonderful Donna Vincent and Natasha Lee from LG Accounting Solutions, where we're going to be delving into the pros and the cons, what's happening in the gig economy. It's one of the fastest growing areas of the workforce, those solopreneurs, sole traders, contractors, freelancers, In fact, I'm one of those. I'm an executive pop-up marketing director, so I fall into that category of gig economy. All my team members are contractors. They have their own ABNs, so we're all members of the gig economy. So we're going to have a few things to share in relation to what the pros and cons of that has been. And I think the experience of COVID-19 has actually highlighted some real downsides of being in that space, but also some upsides as well. So looking forward to that banter. 1st of October with Bunbury and the lovely Kathy Smith, who's online, who's our chapter leader down there. She'll be rocking the 4th quarter of 2020. That sounds like a great topic, Kathy. So anyone who wants to go on a road trip, maybe get together with some other Perth girls and head down. Perth Courageous Conversations, Vita Carlino's actually going to be facilitating that one at the Earth Point Centre. They're always worth attending. You know, we go into some really deep and meaningful things. It's really around getting that self-awareness. The theme this time is I'm right, can't you see? It's a very confronting topic. I do have a bad tendency to want to be right and do a lot of research so that I trap people in the corner. So I'm going to have some interesting thoughts around this concept myself. My husband's going, oh my God, I hope this is not going to make you think you're going to be more right than usual. But the Perth Roundtable then on the 12th of October with the very clever Becky Sangster. This one's going to be very much focused on a mastermind around the table, exploring opportunities for business development and opportunities for growth. So that's going to be a great positive session. And then the 15th of October, we're turning your team into your best brand advocates on LinkedIn. The wonderful Lucy Bingle, she's probably Australia's LinkedIn guru, has joined BWA as a premium level member, and I'm so excited about that. She has actually not just looks at your own organisation in terms of you, your professional brand, your profile, your connection strategy, your content strategy, but also your team and how you bring in a culture where your team are advocates on LinkedIn and help actually power your brand across that very important B2B social media channel. So that's going to be a really good strategic session. So I look forward to seeing you on that one. And then for the next Mindset Mastermind with Tracy Ward, Savvy, Self-Awareness and Success. I always laugh at the sort of topics that Tracy does. And then when I host them and do them and carry them out, I get all this great stuff because I've never really done a lot of that kind of self-development around mindset. And I am loving Tracy Ward's sessions. So I'm really looking forward to that 20th of October one. And then after hours for a drink in a Mardi Bar, you can see there's a lot going on in Perth. We've pretty much ramped up again now, doing in-person events again. Sunshine Coast have just had their think tank and they want to do 3 or 4 coming up over the next 12 months. And I'm talking to Catherine Dixon and, of course, Jessica Schubert about Melbourne coming back on board with some in-person events too. So it's just so nice to be getting back and getting in front of everyone and being able to be not just online, but also face-to-face again. So that's really super. What else have we got? Of course, Caitriona, what an incredible topic we've got. So Caitriona's bringing over 15 years of experience to us today. She's been in IT and cyber safety, more recently focusing on that important element of technology and the way that we use technology. So CAIT is her business. She's left corporate, and we're going to talk about, I think, why she was bananas enough to leave the corporate world of IT. She used to be a general manager of an IT business when I first met her. We've got some very similar backgrounds. We both have a passion for cyber safety. And so we're really going to delve into that. But before we do, I just want to share with you that VMware released some very interesting statistics at the end of last year, and this was pre-COVID, so I can't even imagine how much craziness was occurring when people were operating from their homes and using their own home Wi-Fi's with multiple users and multiple areas of protection. But back in their Carbon Black's 2020 study, they have basically found that there's been a huge number of cyber attacks in Australia. They jumped from 90% from October October 29, and 88% of senior IT executives in Australia were saying that they were more sophisticated than previous years. And Caitriona said, please don't be a scaremonger and work from an operation of fear. But I think we really need to understand that this is not just a big corporate issue. It is an issue that comes from home to every business, whether it's small, medium, or large. So I am going to really have a few questions that I'm going to be asking of Caitriona. But I think if we can get some before we get into the technical tips and the insights that you've got there, Caitriona, why did you leave the safety of a very well-paying job and that kind of career that you were really advancing in? What motivated you to jump off and essentially become a gig worker?
There was a number of things, Lynn, but I think for me, leaving IT to move to cyber, and believe it or not, they're two different industries. Everybody thinks IT and cyber are the one industry, but they're not. IT is the operational side, making things work. Cyber is protecting the operational side. And I suppose over the last 5 years, I've seen a huge trend in, small business, small, medium business, in Perth here in particular, and my customers getting hacked. And it was normally, somebody had clicked on an email or went to a website, and that person that had, brought the business down or clicked on that email, they were left devastated. You didn't want to be that person that clicked on that email. You didn't want to be that one that's brought the business down for 5 days. So I started to quickly realize that there's nobody training these people. How do you learn the skills to identify what to do and what not to do? And I started thinking, well, you just don't give somebody a car and tell them to go out there and learn to drive yourself. And that's what we've done with technology and computers. We haven't really trained people how to use them in a safe manner. You can go and sign up to any number of online accounts, but how do you know if, they're looking after your data, if it's safe? So for me, I was really passionate about educating business owners, individuals, everybody, and in the cyber safety. So I think that's why I decided, it's time to jump ship. It was a bit of a mad moment, I suppose, for me, because I was getting married and I'd done it 5 weeks before my wedding. I think my poor husband must have thought she's lost the plot. But it's been the best thing that I've done. I'm absolutely loving the cybersecurity industry. I'm loving the fact that I can make an impact and help people understand what can be perceived as a scary and complex topic. And when you get into it, it's not. There's a lot of scary terms. Unfortunately, the movies haven't really helped the industry because they've made it, a bit of a dark, like even the word dark web, everybody's like, oh, what's dark web? And once you get to understand, and that's what I'm passionate about, is putting it into everyday language. Stop using these scary terms, these terms that confuse people, and let's get back to the basics. What is it that we need to do to keep ourselves safe?
So it was interesting that you left sort of this world in IT management. You've set your own business up you're really passionate about helping the SMEs. Yet one of your biggest contracts, the first one you win, is with a major public utility.
Yeah, I know. And I suppose it just it shows the lack of skills, especially in the cyber awareness space, because a lot of cyber professionals will agree that, we've got the technology side pretty, well. We still, have improvements to make, but we're pretty good in the technology side. But it's the people side that is really letting us down. And, we often say the problem is between the chair and the keyboard. It's the person, that's causing the problems for all organizations. So I think the opportunity came with, one of the largest utility, their well-known household name. And, I was privileged to be even considered to run their cyber awareness program for their 4,000 staff. And for me, it doesn't matter size of organization, who it is, if it's a mom and dad business, if it's a home, an individual, to large organizations. For me, it's just getting the message out there and helping people, you know, stay safe and identify the risks.
And where are the biggest risks? I mean, from, you know, we've got sitting online today. Let's just go around. So Catherine Dixon, where are you coming in from?
Coming in terms of where am I living?
Yeah, where are you? Who are you and where are you from?
Okay, so
not everyone else does.
yeah. So I work in financial services. So I'm a relationship manager for IOOF Group. So yeah, I've just moved into that from one of the subsidiary companies.
And how big is IOOF? How many employees? How many people within that?
Yeah, well, you've got employees and you've got self-employed associated with it. So there's a bit of a mix. But there's an acquisition underway, so it'll be about 4,000 staff by June.
So that's going to be massive, isn't it?
It's massive, and financial services is a real issue, so cyber.
Massive. Yeah, and Kathy, what about you? In terms of you've got a team that's, some of them are working remotely, and you've got clients and access to client technologies as well, haven't you?
Yes, we certainly do. We have a lot of different accesses, being a digital marketing company and running people's emails and websites. And it always amazes me that the lack of password protection that people have. So they have very limited passwords, or they use the same one over and over and over. And then they don't do the classic where you need to have at least 8 digits. And I recently interviewed Caitriona on my podcast, Small Business Talk. So she was telling me you actually need 12 digits, otherwise they can break it within a day. And then of course you also have to have an uppercase, a lowercase, a number, and a special character. And the number of passwords that I see that are all lowercase, something really simple, and then I find out that they're using them all over the place, is horrific. So no doubt Caitriona will give us more information about that.
I might be looking a little bit sheepish there, because Kathy told me off yesterday when we had to go through some things with our systems, and she was going, oh my God, Lyn, we have to do a whole password overhaul here for Business Women Australia, because I have got into a very bad habit of using the same passwords over and over again, and they're probably very easy for someone to work out. So, okay. And Gail, tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, thanks. Well, I'm an insurance broker, so I'm all over this cyber risk type of thing. I'm finding that even though it is a huge risk, clients are just not willing to take up the insurance. And the cover, it's basically how long is a piece of string, and it's what you get what you pay for. So you can pay very little and get some cover, or you can just pay thousands and just cover every possible option there is out there. But even on the smaller case, I think it's a matter of people, ignorance is bliss until it's not, basically. So then it's too late when there's been an incident, and people always think, oh no, IT guys are all over it. So, and like Caitriona was saying, IT and cyber are 2 totally different things. So that's, yeah, I'm sort of all over it, but yeah, it's difficult with clients and purchasing the insurance for it, or any sort of risk management.
What's the new name of your insurance business, Gail?
I'm just in the process of rebranding. So I was or am Westside Insurance Specialist at the moment, but rebranding into Insurance Advisor Net Southwest. So I'm opening a little office in Mandurah on the terrace there. So yeah, it's all happening. So I'm coming out of the boys club and getting out from under their shadow and just sort of having my own little beacon shining now. So yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations. That's such gorgeous news.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gail. And Pauline Bright.
Hello. So I am a business designer, business coach based in beautiful Mandurah, Western Australia. And I'm pretty much a solopreneur, but I deal with a lot of businesses who are solos right up to much bigger businesses. And I do worry about cybersecurity. I've heard so much about it that it stresses me out. So Caitriona, I need to feel really reassured today. And I need some really good ideas about what do I need to worry about? What don't I need to worry about? Because to me, it's been an industry where people are using lots and lots of scare tactics, and I don't think that helps. So
that's good. Caitriona's exactly on that opinion point too. So we'll be looking forward to that. Natasha, is your microphone working? Yes.
Yes, it is. Yes, so I'm from LG Accounting Solutions, and we're based in Innaloo in Perth, and we have 17 team members plus a Filipino team as well. And I guess one of our biggest concerns with cybersecurity is the phishing emails, I think that's what you call them, that keep going around that the team think are real. We recently did a drill with our IT company of working out which ones were fake and real emails, and none of our team members passed. So that was quite scary for us.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Caitriona's got some ideas to share. And Kate, you want to introduce yourself? Is maybe through the chat if your microphone's not working? No. I'll keep an eye on the chat box there. Kate, if you've got any questions, just put it into chat box. I think she's having troubles with her recording, her microphone. So back to Caitriona. So we've obviously got such a diverse group on today, Caitriona. So what are the tips? I mean, if we can, if we can take away some really sort of immediate things that we can put in place, whether we're running in a large organisation or, we're running a small team, or we're just wanting to help our clients.
Yeah.
What are you recommending?
So, to start off, there's no blanket solution to cybersecurity. There's not one size fits all, unfortunately. But in the industry, we're seeing a huge trend, and even with some of the organisations that I'm working with, is educating your staff to be cyber safe at home to start off with. So then those skills transfer into the business life. So arming them with the skills, and I say cybersecurity is a life skill that everybody needs, and that's the way I look at it. And as I say, you just didn't learn to, be safe on the roads or protect your home. It's the same with cybersecurity. You need to learn how to protect yourself against the criminals. And a lot of people, as Pauline said, it can be a bit scary, and a lot of people then end up just digging their head in the sand because they don't know where to start. Where do you start? Also, a lot of people of opinion is the threat real? Does it apply to me? Why would they come after me? I'm just a small fish in a big sea. But it's very, very real. I just want to give you some real statistics in Australia right now, this year to date, so 2020 to date. So, and these are scams that have cost people money. So by amount, investment scams has cost Australian citizens $37 million this year to date. The second biggest scam in Australia, and people always don't believe this one, it's romance and online scams, and it's cost $26 million to Australian residents and citizens this year. And everybody thinks, oh, I would be smart enough to identify if this person wasn't real or not, but these guys are super smart. This is most of them are organized businesses. They're organized, they run like a business. Some of them actually run better than most businesses I know. That's how organized they are. And they have systems, they have processes, they invest in the best talent. And in some countries, cybercrime is actually a profession, and it's a very well thought of profession in some countries. And this is why it's such a huge risk. For me, it's first of all, start thinking about, and depending on, if it's for yourself, for your business, for your organization, what is the basic things that I need to do? So look, I could spend hours and hours and hours talking about this, but we don't have that today. So I just want to sort of give what I consider as everybody, whether it's an individual, a business, whatever, the main number one is passwords. And you hear time and time again, passwords are so important. And the reason being is that 80% of all data breaches in the world are due to stolen credentials. So you may have heard on the news about different data breaches. A big one in the UK earlier this year was EasyJet. Another famous one was the Marriott hotels. Another famous one was MyFitnessPal. So if you have an account with these online providers and your password or your account credentials has got stolen as part of that breach, they go to an online database, or the dark web as people like to refer to it, and they go for sale. So on the dark web, people will buy like Medicare details, credit card details, all this. So if you haven't changed your password, I would say in the last 3 to 6 months, then your password is out there on the dark web. So if you use that password for, say, MyFitnessPal, and you use it for everything like Lyn probably does, well, this is how you get hacked. So then think about it at another level. So say you're on your company website, or you're on LinkedIn as the managing director or the CEO of an organization, and they want to target that organization. So they go and they look, email domain. Most emails are first name dot last name, or first letter, or there's, you know, a number of different formats that's normally that we follow for email addresses. They go onto the dark web, see you there, see your password, bang, they're into your system. So that's how easy it is if you don't change your passwords. Now that's one side to passwords. The second side to passwords is if they want to use what you call brute force attack. So it's basically computer code to try and to get into an organization with a password. As Kathy was mentioning earlier in the interview that I done with her, if your password is 8 digits, characters, numbers, whatever long, it's less than a minute for that to be cracked. So they'll have you in less than a minute. Once you add complexity to that, and once you get up to over 12, then it extends the time it takes to crack that password to up to a year. So that's why it's so important to, you know, have complex passwords. And that's the other reason then is why not to have the same password for everything. And I suppose, you know, a lot of people will say, how am I supposed to remember all these passwords? How many online accounts do you have? And you know, the best thing is to use a password manager, and there's loads of really good password managers out there. And none of my accounts do I know my password. So I know one password, and that is to my password manager. And I change that. Well, I suppose I'm a bit more suspicious than most, but I would change my password every month for my password manager. But even my online accounts that are in my password manager, I would change them every 90 days, because just because you've come up with a complex password and it's in your password manager, if it's still part of a data breach, your complex password is still stolen and it's still out there. And what I also say to people, and I done a demo for a lady last week, she asked me to do a bit of a review of her own. She's a solopreneur, and she's just like, I'm a bit afraid of my setup. Can you have a look? And we just met in a cafe in Perth, and she gave me her computer. And I said to her, do you want me to find your passwords? And she's like, you'll not find my passwords. I'm like, yeah, well. And she had saved all her passwords, you know, in Google Chrome, or your browser would ask you to save your passwords. Well, you can go in there, they're saved in plain text. They're not hidden. So I could go in and go, here's all your passwords. So if
So do I have to delete all that, clear my browsers?
Yeah, you should let your password manager look after that. So if, you know, a hacker installs a piece of software onto your computer because you've clicked on an email or whatever, that's how easy it is to find the passwords if you've saved them on a browser. So, you know, I know everybody complains.
What if you save them in a spreadsheet for passwords?
I'm going to take that as a joke, Lyn.
Okay. I might have to rename that spreadsheet.
And you know what? It is common. Like being in IT, you know, years, and it's happened up until 2 years ago, or even a year ago, just before I left IT, when you'd be onboarding a new client, and you'd say, okay, where's your passwords? The next thing they'd email you a spreadsheet, and you were going, you just didn't do that, did you? I actually done a security review for a financial services company in the city who deals with investment portfolios, quite large ones, and I done a review for them just before Christmas last year, and that was the first thing that they done, was emailed me all their passwords. And I was like, oh, okay, we have big trouble here. But passwords is definitely, you know, most people don't, you know, I suppose give it the attention that it deserves. It's the easiest way for hackers to get access, and it is number one. I know everybody, when they think of cybersecurity, they think, oh, it's all hard and complex, and there, you know, you have to do so many complex things. It's not. It's basic. It's get your password sorted out, and that's the first. And then that's just one of the things. Natasha mentioned phishing, and I'm going to admit I am one of those guilty of being the person that sends out those phishing emails to organizations. So I actually run phishing campaigns for a lot of my clients, and the large utilities company that I'm working for at the moment, I have a phishing campaign running at the moment. And it's one of them was an Apple spoofed email, and the other one was coming from their IT, and we'd used the wrong email. It didn't look like it's from their IT, but the amount of people that's clicking on it, you know, and some people might say that you're trying to fool them and dupe them into doing something that's wrong, but it's not. We're trying to show them what the real risks are, because that's what the hackers will do. So it allows us then to say, okay, guys, you know, let's give you a little bit of training. Let's do a 10-15 minute training video to show you how to identify, you know. And we done a game with one of our clients last month, and it was 12 examples, and in the game they had to click which they thought was a real email or which was a phish, and then it teaches them where, you know, how to check. So like check the email address, check the link, where does it go to. So, you know, that's probably from passwords. You would think, you know, phishing emails and emails is the next one, because that's how they do get into organizations. You know, people click on an email that then they put in credentials, or they download an attachment which installs a piece of malware. So those would be the first two. I also, one of the pieces of advice I give, and people, you know, don't realize this one either, is when you're using online accounts, never ever register with your business email account or your business email address. You know, so like if you're signing up to shopping sites, or you want to get a blog or a newsletter, set up you know, a free Gmail account or something like that, that I call, you get your spam emails through. Because when you sign up to all these things, again, you're giving your credentials to, you know, an online platform. Are they looking after your credentials? How do you know that what their security is like? So I always say protect your business email as much as you can, and don't give that email address away to online accounts if you don't need to. And the number of people, like we done a phishing test a couple of months ago, and it was a Facebook to a corporate, and so it was a Facebook phishing email, and the amount of people clicked on it, and you know, and then I had the conversation with them. Why did you think that it was Facebook and LinkedIn? And I was like, what made you think that, you know, these emails were real? Because you shouldn't be using your corporate email address with Facebook or LinkedIn, you know. So it just showed that a lot of people still do use their corporate email address for these kind of platforms or for social media, which you really, really shouldn't. And if anybody's got any questions, jump in. You know, I'm happy to answer as we go along. I hate talking to people. I prefer to be more interactive and, you know, help.
They're really good simple things that we can be doing in our organisations as well as at home, and with our families. You know, making sure that our families are being safe as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if someone's setting up a new business, or someone like Gail setting up, you know, rebranding, doing all this sort of thing, what would be the sort of advice that you would give her from a cyber safety point of view too?
Yeah, well, like I've literally just had one of my friends who's opening a gym, and she wanted to set up, you know, her online email account and all those kind of things. So first of all, I always say to business owners, don't let your IT company control your domain name. The amount of people that we see their domain names registered to somebody else, not them, you know, it's crazy. So if you let your IT company set up your domain name, the IT company controls it, it owns it. If you've had a falling out, you know, you have to try and get that back from them. And your domain name is, you know, very important. If you lose your domain name, You have to then change email addresses, you have to change websites. So it's really important to make sure that the owner of the business, that the domain name is registered in your name. The second one I would say when it comes to setting up a new business is, with the domain name, always set up to block or to lock the transfer of that domain. So if a hacker tries to request a transfer into their control and you miss the email or for some reason, there is a feature of most domain registration companies that you can lock it for transfer, and it's only the owner can allow that transfer to go ahead. So it's a bit of a security feature that a lot of people don't think of, but it's an important one. Also, when setting up a new business, I always say is what is going to be vital or critical to keep your business running, and it normally is your data or your IP, and you just have to think about, where am I saving that data? Can I trust that company? Are they backing it up? How often are they backing it up? You know, I often, and this was the thing in the IT world, a lot of people do trust their IT companies, and there's a lot of good IT companies out there, but sometimes they get it wrong, you know. So don't fully just say it's my IT company's problem. If you're a business owner, it's not, it's yours, it's your company. It's not your IT company's company, you know. So always make sure that you know where your data is stored, you know how often it's been backed up, and you know that the backup can be recovered. You know, I always say your backup is only as good as its last test. If you don't test your backups regularly, they're not really worth doing. And the amount of organizations that have come to me and said, oh, I thought my IT company was backing up my data, and then when we went to use it, it's corrupt or it's not working, or do you know what I mean? So you need to really know that you can get your data back. If you've, say, had, you know, any kind of cyber incident, a lot of the common ones is like ransomware, where they install a piece of software, encrypt your files, they hold you to ransom for some money. And those instances that you need to really be able to recover your data, or then you'll have to pay the ransom, which Gail will probably attest to, that it's not recommended to pay the ransom if you don't have to, but some organizations do. I know of a colleague of mine who had a sister company here in Perth only a number of weeks ago, and their backups wasn't working. They paid the ransom. It was $6,000. And they're a small business, so it was quite a significant amount of money to them, but they only ended up getting one file back. So, you know, at the end of the day, these are criminals. You know, they can do whatever they like. They don't have to give you your files. A lot of cases they do give you your files back, because again, it's organized business for them, and if they didn't, then people would stop paying the ransoms. But in some cases, it's a risk that you're taking. You don't know if you're going to get your files back or not.
And a lot of small businesses are now relying on cloud-based software as well. You know, they don't obviously have their own servers, and more businesses are going to these sort of disparate systems that, you know, that they may not be thinking regularly about how to download their data and back it up.
Yeah, well, the other important item is the data stored in Australia? So there's some companies, and especially not-for-profits, have some regulations that your data needs to be stored within Australia. And some of these cloud providers have hosting services all over the world, and your data may not be held in Australia. So always have just investigate where is your data stored, and if you have any legislation around what countries it's stored in, you need to check that out.
Yeah, that would be particularly relevant for people's, their CRM systems and their accounting solutions as well, their financial solutions that they may not necessarily, they think that they're dealing with an Australian provider, but they're not.
Yeah.
Interesting. So in your own business, Caitriona, so, you know, you've got a major contract going on, you've got lots of different size clients. You've been doing a lot of speaking. I know that you've just been nominated for the Community Choice Award, is it?
Yeah,
Women in IT.
Yeah, it's Women in Technology WA.
Women in Technology. So Women in Technology. We'll get you to put into the chat box a link so we can all vote for you, because it'd be great for you to take that award. I think it would be a ripper for you. But what are the sorts of things that have been the big lessons? I mean, how long have you been in business for yourself now?
It's just coming up. Well, it's just over a year now, and one of the big lessons for me, at the start of the year, I took part in a workshop on entrepreneurial mindset, and you took part in a sort of an assessment on what your entrepreneurial mindset is, and it looks at different areas. And what came up for me, and I knew it was there, and it's one of those things you sort of like, was my confidence. I never was a confident person, and it stemmed back to an incident when I was really young. I think it was like year 6 at school or something, where a teacher had said something about me, and it's just stuck with me all my life. But it reared its ugly head when I done the assessment back in February. And I knew if I really wanted to progress as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, I needed to sort that out. You know, I love public speaking, but, you know, the confidence issue was always there. So just as COVID hit, I had the opportunity to do a 12-week coaching program with one of my coaches. And I said, you know what, it's a bit of an investment, but I'm going to do it. And after that, I'd done the assessment again, and my confidence is back. So for me, it's been a huge year in self-development and personal development. I've spent a lot of time, you know, on me, not just the technical skills, but, you know, my limiting beliefs, what's holding me back, you know, going for what I really want. And, you know, just been saying and speaking up. You know, I would have been one of those ones when you go to an event and you're sitting there and you have a burning question, but you're too scared to ask the question in case you seem silly. And I've realized, you know, I have a voice, and, you know, I have a very important message to help other people. And, you know, it's my duty. I feel it's my duty to help other people understand this complex and scary topic. So yeah, that's been a big lesson for me this year, I suppose.
I mean, you've always come across to me as such a positive and optimistic person, and that's sort of, you know, we've always gravitated towards each other, I think, because we share that kind of optimistic outlook. But what are the things that have really pissed you off? You know, it's been an interesting time, you know, an interesting journey. What are the things that actually do bug you?
I suppose the tech talk in cyber. You know, I've just sat in a 2-day conference. It's an Australian-wide conference, AusCert. And, you know, it's came up as well on a few of the presentations that I've sat in, is that we need to really get away from people thinking it's an industry with the hood and the hooded hacker and, you know, that dark web. And it's not that industry. It might have been at one stage, and there is elements of that in the industry. But this is more, it's more real. It's the same risk. Like Allianz done risk, what was it called? The Allianz risk barometer. And last year, cybersecurity was number 2 across the world. This year, cybersecurity is number 1 on business risks across the world. So in Australia, it's actually still number 2. Business interruption is number 1. But it just goes to show that people don't really realize how huge a risk this is to their business or to the organization until it happens and it's too late. You know, there's a statistic out there, 63% of all businesses in Australia, small businesses, in Australia, that suffer a significant cyber breach never recover. And when I heard that statistic, I was like, oh my God, you never, like, imagine a lot of small businesses, you know, and because I've worked in the SME space for, you know, up on nearly 20 years now, it's mum and dads, it's families, you know, and this is the impact that a cyber breach can have. It can devastate a family, it can devastate a workforce. So it's not, you know, the large organizations. Of course they are targets, but there's criminals for every size of organizations. You know, same as there's the same criminals that will go and rob a house or rob a bank. You know, there's all different sizes. So, you know, everybody's at risk. And I think that's what, for me, that's what's made me passionate this year. So in terms of going back to your question, it's getting away from that fear factor where people don't want to, you know, look at the topic or know that they need to do something about it, like changing their passwords, and they put it in the too hard basket. For me, I really want to make it, you know, more accessible, more real to business owners and to families and to individuals, and not to realize, look, it's not going away. It's only going to keep increasing. So it's about time we do something about it. And, you know, I believe if everybody just done a little bit, it would make it an easier place for, you know, or a harder place for the cyber criminals to attack.
And it's a really great message. Do you think there's enough being shared in schools and, you know, with the young, you know, the digital natives are so confident with technology, but do you think they really understand, you know, the cyber security risks?
I think they are, you know, if you look at some of the statistics in terms of the scams and who reports scams and how they're affected, like the under 20s are doing pretty well. The population that is most affected is the over 65s, believe it or not. And they're the ones that report the biggest financial loss in Australia at the moment, because these are a generation that hasn't grew up with computers. You know, they are too trusting. You know, they're willing to give details to whoever because they don't know the risks. And I think that's, you know, an area that needs to be looked at. I think the schools are definitely doing a good job. I have a number of girlfriends that have kids in schools, and, you know, they're all saying about what they've been taught in schools. I think it's still a long way to go. I also think, you know, we also need to see a rise in females joining the cybersecurity industry. At present, there's only 20% in Australia, which is such a low number. And I know it's actually falling. There's less females joining the industry. And it could be because, you know, people think of it as a geek industry, or to, you know, find a different word, but it's not. You know, I wouldn't, you know, call myself a geek, even though I love technology. But, you know, there's so many different areas in cyber that, you know, everybody, no matter what your skills, like I have a good colleague that I've recently made acquaintances with, and she was an accountant, and she just decided she wanted to change careers, and I think she's in her late 40s, and she's gone back, studied cybersecurity, and she's now out in the workforce. And she brings a very valuable set of skills because she's got the accountancy background now with the cybersecurity skills, you know, and I think it's so awesome to see those, but there's not enough of those kind of stories. So, you know, for me, I really want to see more females in the industry, because we do bring something different.
Yeah, and what about, I can remember that when you first started, you said it seemed really hard in those early days to crack the Australian and the WA market in particular, that you were getting almost more interest back home in Ireland.
Yeah, I think, you know, it still would be pretty much the same. And when I talk to other people from especially UK, Ireland, Europe, you know, I've spoke to a guy recently who's just come from the Netherlands, and he said the same. He's only in Australia a number of years. That we seem to have the she'll be right attitude. And I didn't really know what that meant, but I'm living here 9 years now, so I now know what it means. I think that's what it is. We just don't really, you know, believe that it's a real risk. But the likes of Europe, England, the UK, Ireland, they know it's a real risk, and businesses are investing, small businesses are investing. Here, small businesses are still not investing on, especially training of their people. You know, a lot of the technology's been implemented, but they're still not doing training of their people. And, you know, Natasha spoke earlier about the phishing campaigns. The thing about cybersecurity training is it's not a one set and forget and that's it. It's ongoing. It's like I always say it's like a muscle that you need to arm. So it needs to be very regular. You need to have different techniques for training. So some of the organizations that I work with, we do computer-based training. So they have online videos to watch, but we also do face-to-face. We also make, you know, fun things like there's a company that does a cyber escape room. So it's like the escape rooms that you can go to, but you can do a cyber escape room, and they've just brought it online, and it's actually really fun, you know, so it's about making it fun. So you learn more, I think, when you're having a bit of fun. And I don't know, I love having a bit of fun. So if I can make it fun and make it that you're learning as well. Yeah.
And what about your own business, Caitriona? you've obviously got a big contract, so that will be taking up a lot of your time and your energy working in the business. But when you're thinking about your own business and working on the business, have you got plans to scale and grow? What's CAIT going to look like in 5 years' time?
I really want to go online. I think, online is just growing at a massive, like when you talk about the gig economy, like the amount of online entrepreneurs that there is. And for me, I've seen it a lot in the last 12 months. Their business is fully online, so they're at a huge risk. I think I sent you before the call, Lynn. I've had a lady here from Regional WA, who's a social media management company. She got her Instagram account hacked twice. So I've been able to get that back for her. I had a lady in the UK who came to me who had 55,000 followers, so she was one of these influencers. And she had a product that she was also selling, but she got her Instagram account hacked and didn't get it back. So she lost her 55,000 followers, which I think it took her 5 years to build that up. So like for me, that's where I really want to go, is educating the people online of what is the things that you need to do to keep yourself safe. Because, once like her account's gone, she reckons she might never recover from that. So I think I still love doing the face-to-face, and I will continue to do, and I think for me, the focus really is on cyber awareness. I have so many other technical skills that I could utilize, but I love people. I'm a people person, and I love being able to help. And I think that's, for me, I believe I've been, that's my purpose in life, is to help and serve. And I think this is how I'm going to do it, is by trying to reach as many people as possible and have as much impact as possible. So probably more online courses, online masterminds, those types of things, as well as continuing to do the face-to-face as well.
Brilliant. Sounds like such an essential sort of plugging in a real gap in the market where there's a massive need for that. And what about in terms of when you look back, at these last few years, those decisions, coming to that decision to then make the leap and set up, what have been the real lessons you've learnt, along the way that, if you look back now, you wish you'd known?
Don't trust everybody and have a good network. The people around you are very, very important. And I think you talked about Business Women Australia. I remember when COVID first hit, I suppose I felt a little bit lonely, but those Friday afternoons where we had our few drinks online, they were my saving grace back then. They kept me sane. Because my husband does FIFO, so I was at home the whole time, and those for weeks, I was going to the shop and coming back, but to being able to, reach out and so for me, having a strong community of people that support you, that's key. No matter whether it's in life or whether it's in business, I think you need to have those people that really you can trust, and no matter what, you can go and ask their opinion and they will give you, whether you want to hear it or not. Sometimes you might not want to hear it. But that was one of the big lessons for me, is some people that I did trust, I shouldn't have put the trust in them. It's also, I've realized I have a very strong intuition. So follow my gut. If my gut is saying to me something doesn't seem right, then it generally doesn't seem right. So I'm very tuned into, just following what's right for me, and doing what I'm passionate about. I really, I suppose in the 20 years that I've been in IT, you've done a lot of things just to please others and not necessarily please yourself. And at times you have to do that to maybe progress your career, but it comes to a stage, I think, in your life where, life's about having fun and really doing, and when you're really enjoying your work, it's not work. I love doing what I do every day, and I think that's highly important as well, is once the fun stops, then you're doing something wrong.
And your business, it's so true. And I know you love this work so much. You can just hear it in your voice. But So for you, who is your ideal client? Where can you help the most, and how do people engage you to do what you need to do for them? And how do you price out this kind of work?
And it's different for every, like, I don't really say I have an ideal client, because I can help anybody, and that's the thing. So, like, to that solo small business down in the southwest, a couple of hours of my time, that saved her, hours of stress. So, from small businesses to large businesses, I love doing workshops for small businesses. I've done a number of ones for businesses that have anything from 10 to about 30 staff, and really tailoring it to them. I'd done one for a construction company earlier this year, and they actually have quite a large clients who would be significant targets. So, I taught them that they are actually the target to get to their clients. And it was awesome once the staff members was like, oh, imagine if we brought such and such a company down, and one of it's a worldwide brand. It's a worldwide brand, and they realized that their company would be dust if they were the ones to let this worldwide brand have a cyber attack. So teaching people those kind of things. So anybody that needs to upskill their staff, wants to just learn a little bit more. I've been working on some online materials, so online courses, and I've had more and more I suppose entrepreneurs and business owners come to me and say, what about doing like a 4-week sort of mastermind or workshop where each week you give us tasks to do, like changing our passwords or different things, setting up password managers, because people don't know how to set up password managers, or so I'm contemplating doing something like that, sort of like a workshop that will help people, because it's okay learning these skills, but you need to put them into action, and that's where it normally falls down. Everybody goes to these kind of events and learns all the things that they need to do, but then they don't do it. So I'm thinking of doing more of a hands-on, okay, this is what we're doing this week, and I'd help you through the process.
Well, that sounds perfect, because I think we've talked about passwords managers before, and I still haven't put one in place. So I'm definitely going to be doing that. I've sort of looked at all the sorts of things that have come out for me, and I've written down a list of things to do. What about anyone else? Does anyone else want to just, had a much longer lockdown than the rest of us? Do you think during this time of COVID around the world that the cyber hacking's just gone massively increased?
It's through the roof. People don't understand how actually it's just gone crazy. The hackers have had a field day. Like, I have access to an online portal with all phishing templates that hackers use, and the percentage of COVID-related phishing scams has just gone up through the roof. They also know that everybody's working from home. Businesses weren't prepared. I think back at the start of COVID, I done a quick 10-minute video on a short course on how to stay cyber safe at home, and it's basic things like people don't even think of in their home, changing the password on your firewall or your router. People normally get them sent out from your service provider, the internet service provider, and they don't change the default username and password, so it's easy to get into. The other thing that I've seen a lot of people do, and my friend sent me a snap of it the other day, and she didn't realize what she just sent me, was people have these little notice boards with Wi-Fi password. You go into the home and here the Wi-Fi password is written on their fridge or the notice board. I'm like, how many delivery drivers, or if somebody wants to get it, there it is. And she was sending me a snap of the time, and here it was the Wi-Fi password underneath it. And I said to her, who all have you sent that snap to? Because they all now have your Wi-Fi password. And she just didn't realize. So some basic things. The other one is always, from a personal perspective, is make sure that you always do your updates. Windows updates, software updates are highly, highly important. The reason being is they are the patches that are the security vulnerabilities in software. So like Microsoft are notorious for releasing software that, you know, have vulnerabilities in it, and it's, again, they can't, it's not the software vendor's fault. They, you know, that's what hackers, that's what their job is, to find these vulnerabilities. So every time Microsoft or any software vendor sends you an update, that's them fixing a security hole or a way into your system. So it's really, really important that you do those regularly.
So that's an interesting situation, because we've got, you know, obviously enterprise grade for my home office, Simon's home office, what have you, but the kids and their laptops, some of them have got old PCs, they're running old systems off our Wi-Fi, so that could be a gateway.
Huge. Yeah, especially if you're running a system, say that's Windows 7, or I don't think there'll be any Windows XP around anymore, but, you know, like once Microsoft stops releasing patches for their software, that's how these vulnerabilities get in. So like the NHS was a huge famous one a number of years ago for WannaCry. They had a lot of Windows XP machines on their network, didn't update them. The WannaCry, which was a ransomware, brought the NHS to its knees. They had to, you know, cancel surgeries, cause a huge impact and a lot of money as well. And that's how they got in. I seen I think it was a news press recently, I'll not say who the news press was with, but they inadvertently had a screen in the back and it was Windows 7, and it was a government news press, and I was like, oh my God. What, they've just shown the world.
I'm going to go and take off the magnetic thing from Chelsea with my Wi-Fi password off my fridge, so I'm not laughing at anybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've just got one final question before we wrap up, and that was, if I was your fairy godmother and I had my magic wand with me today, what would you wish for right now, Caitriona?
Oh, that's an easy one. Flight back to Ireland to see the family. I think that's been the most difficult thing this year. Is we were supposed to go back in March. We are due to go back at Christmas. We have friends that are supposed to be getting married at Christmas. They actually live here, so they've had to cancel their wedding. I have a new niece that was born in March, and we were to go back to be godparents, and we just are not going to get. So that's, for if you're my fairy godmother, just teleport me back to Ireland for just 1 week. I just want a week. And then I'll come back to the sunshine.
I wish I could grant that wish, because it's one that I think we can all really relate to.
But you know what? I feel so privileged and so lucky to live in Western Australia. I couldn't, you know, pick a better place to land, to be honest. And it's, you know, the rest, I feel so sorry, especially Catherine and Victoria. You know, we have been so lucky. And when I speak to my family back in Ireland, you know, it's tough. So I definitely am not going to complain about being stuck in Western Australia right now.
Well, we're very lucky to have you here. We're very lucky to have you in Australia. We're very fortunate that you've chosen to actually focus on cyber safety and cybersecurity, and that you're making your knowledge accessible to everybody, no matter if they're a solopreneur, a micro business, or whether or not they're running a massive corporation. I think the challenge for you and your business sounds like it's going to be, how do you replicate, how do you grow and scale so that people can access this kind of help in a way that's not going to burn you out, and that's going to make that's going to be the wonderful rollout of digital. And I think the idea of your recorded webinars and your online system is really going to be a part of that solution. So we're just going to love watching your business grow and you be successful. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. This has been an incredible time with you. We've really covered a lot. We've covered not just your tips and your tricks, and they are wonderful and very, very doable, very actionable. Definitely not beyond my abilities. So I'm going to be busy this afternoon. I actually booked out a couple of hours because I thought last time we spoke, I sort of thought, I'm going to implement that, and I hadn't booked the time out. If I book time out in my calendar, then I get things done.
Yeah. So
I'll be going into implementation phase, but to hear a little bit about you and your own personal journey and the time that you've spent investing in yourself. You know, there's a real message in terms of that for the rest of us. That's very inspiring, because I think as busy women, we quite often very much focus on what we need to do on our lists. You know, we love crossing off our to-do lists and focusing on achieving our business objectives and our career objectives. And quite often, you know, we don't invest in ourselves, and there's quite often those little things that are holding us back. And they might be, like you're saying, something that happened to you in grade 6, or something a teacher said to you, and you've been able to overcome that. And now you've got this courage to be stepping up. I'm so excited that you're part of our leadership team. So thank you. And I'm sure everyone else is very grateful of what you've been able to share with us today as well. So we'll chat again soon.
There's so much more I could have shared, but I didn't want to overwhelm, you know, and I want to make it accessible to everybody. But if anybody ever has any questions or, you know, needs a piece of advice, my phone is always on. Give me a call, and if I don't answer, I'll ring you back. But I'm more than happy to help, because I know some people, it can happen overnight. You could wake up tomorrow morning and you just realize, oh, I can't get into my Facebook, or I can't get into my Instagram, or I can't get into this. And panic sets in, and you know, that's when I want to be able to help. And
how do we get you, Caitriona? What's the best way of finding you?
Yep, you can either email me, I'll put it all in here. But if you go to my website, all my details is there. And I'll put in my number.
So that's CAIT, not caIT.com.au.
Yep.
And we can find you on there. We can book you in to speak to our teams. You can tailor a workshop. You can do some one-on-one consulting if we're just entrepreneurs, solopreneurs. And we can really tap into your genius and make sure that we're cyber secure and we're safe from all those criminals that are out there with nothing better than to ruin our businesses and our lives for a moment.